English is the new Broadway production of the Pulitzer Prize-winning play. It's a comedy that takes place in an English language classroom in Iran. Here's Paul Wontorek with a look.
I'm in love with your creation. English, big hit on Broadway. These are both your Broadway debuts, your entire company of Broadway debuts. These are not actors we've had on Broadway before. These are not characters I've seen on Broadway before. You know, even some of your actors talk about there are certain moments when just things hit them with like extra emotional resonance. Do you feel that as well?
Opening night was like one of the best nights of my life. And that was before reviews or anything came out. We just have been at this play for a long, long time. I find it astounding that playwright, director, cast, all of us have made our Broadway debuts with a play that was delayed for 2 years, that started rehearsal at the height of another COVID surge, went on with no understudies, had a full run. Like, doing this play the first time was for all of us like just a leap of faith because we didn't know what we had.
It's euphoric when the world sees things the way you see them, because so often it feels like you're out of access. But there's so much love like inside of this company already. I felt fortified against public response either way, because the cast is just, and the designers, there's so much affection for what we're doing that means more to me than like the clippings.
What's it like hearing the audiences responding to it, and are you feeling sort of the back and forth with Broadway audiences?
I think for me, the first night, the first preview, when we did our first scene and I turned and we said something and people laughed, it was like suddenly 700 people are laughing at your joke. It felt overwhelming, but as you get into it, it's like you've gone from a small ship to a cruise line.
It's set in Iran, but it's maybe not the story audiences at the roundabout walk in thinking they will see. But I know the play came out of a lot of frustration. Talk about where the play came from and what drove the writing for you.
I wrote this play in response to the travel ban, the Muslim ban in 2017, 2018. I wrote the play in response to the way I've always known that many Americans would perceive my parents who speak with an accent as less intelligent, less human. I wrote it out of rage, I wrote it as a scream. I wrote it when I was nobody, and I just wrote it for myself. I go back and forth, I really contradict myself in like whether I would call this play a political play. I often say I'm not a political writer, but yes, of course, like the decisions these characters grapple with are, do I leave or do I stay? And that is an inherently political thing to be grappling with, a choice that is shaped by the politics around us.
Yeah, I think it's a very political play in the sense that it says a lot about a lot of things in the world, but maybe it can be perceived as non-political because it stays away from how we tend to want to receive stories about the Middle East in America, particularly. But this is a play about language, about power, about access. It's a play that's also about home and about borders and about who you are when you speak what you speak and what it means to take the language of the world for granted, what you lose, what you gain when you are learning the language that, you know, we take for granted in the States. And I think those are very political subjects. The play is not about, you know, the Iranian-American wars, right, you know, or the Iraq-Iran war, or about any of the cliches that you tend, you know, you always want to see Iranians. People tend to assume to see Iranians or Middle Easterns, you know, in that framework. It's so far from that and so much more elevated than that, which is why we're so proud to be in it.
I think the thing that's most sort of profound for me and with this play is that, yes, we're Iranian and yes, we're, you know, you don't get to normally see these people, but each individual character is representing themselves and they're not the same. And I feel like oftentimes, or a lot of times, we were otherized or put in a box, and it was like, well, you can represent the Middle East like this, and you can represent it like that. And I play a character who is mysterious and romantic, and she doesn't know why she's more alive in this versus that. And I feel like that representation actually I've never seen.
Yeah, it feels like we've been relegated a lot of times to playing sort of either the sad Middle Eastern, tragic Middle Eastern trope. Like we've done plenty of that, or the sort of like angelic. You know what I mean?
Or we're there to give you a history lesson.
Yes.
There's a beautiful device where when the characters are actually speaking Farsi to each other, we're hearing it in non-accented English. Right. And it's a great device, and it sort of like draws you in as an audience member right away. What is it like playing with all of that sort of accent as actors, you know, working in New York City?
Well, I think it's so wonderful because we give the audience access to this world, to this duality of living in these two worlds. And then I think Sanaz is such a master because at the very end of the play, Marjan and Elham actually speak Farsi, and for the first time, the audience is put in the position that the characters have lived in for the entirety of this TOEFL class, where they have to tolerate their discomfort of being an outsider for a moment. So I think this device of, you know, speaking naturally when we're speaking Farsi and then speaking in accented English gives the audience a really great sense of what it's like to be an insider and be an outsider and to feel that tension and struggle in our language.
But they're really struggling to learn, and you're watching them learn over the course of the play. And it's really about sort of, there's a lot of discussion about the comfort of living within your own culture and sort of the discomfort of having to assimilate.
I think we all have some variations of those experiences in our own lives. And it's not just that they're trying to assimilate, it's their relationship with this mandatory assimilation. That's the problem. Yes, people can learn languages and go and travel, and that's wonderful, but what these characters are talking about, that in order for them to move forward in their lives, whatever it is, they have to do this because that is the only bridge to that destination. And that's where the desperation comes from.
Every night, I feel like there's a new discovery of just how profound Sanaz is and how Knud let it sort of swim in this restraint and like holding back or kindness that kind of just, it's there for you if you play it.
You're basically referencing how not every job is just a job. I mean, there's another sort of emotion to doing this play. Just tell me quickly, what is it like to get to tell this story every night on Broadway, you know, 8 times a week for a big Broadway house?
It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah. We have to remind ourselves to not play the ending of this experience every day because we know how special it is.
It's always revealing itself. Yeah, it's refusal to be pinned down or behave, and it's insistence upon beauty, and it's the fact that it creates opportunity for such glorious, opaque, sophisticated performances is really why it's like so celebrated, is that it's, you know, it's full of meaning and message, and its language is so beautiful on the page, and that it's is a little beguiling reminds me of the kind of the classics that I fell in love with when I was first studying drama, because I think there's something a little fast fashion about the new playwriting industry. We're always looking for like a quick hit of meaning or style, and it's a bit disposable. But I found the plays that linger are ones that you can return to again and again, and it says something new every time.
What many find surprising is that a play that's set in the Middle East can be beautiful and romantic and soft and quiet. That is what I'm really proud of, and that's a testament to all of us.